Okay, from last two classes, we discussed the backend structure of a website or application. And also, we discussed how we can retrieve those data from the backend using SQL queries, the programming language SQL, um, or how actually backend work, or how database management system works actually. So today's topic actually coming from backend testing, but specifically this is API. So API testing will be very, very important uh, during your job search. Actually, when you will be in the market for job interviews, you will see API a lot actually. API and SQL will be working kind of side by side. And you have to use different type of tools to do API testing. So this is from last class. You know what is backend testing, right? So your application is connected to some server and database, and testing this backend database or server is called actually backend testing. So this is just a recap for you. And from here, you will see the picture, right? That how a web-based application actually looks like from high level. This is your screen or my screen, or anybody use laptop, desktop, iPad or phone. This is your phone screen or laptop screen, and this is somewhere your application actually saved, or you basically through internet or connection, web connection, you request the information from this storage. This is, you can say, a storage, cloud-based storage. This is not like physical store where like there's a room, you keep it like on the shelf or anything else. This is a cloud-based storage. This is called backend. You always heard like cloud-based software like Amazon Web Services, right? This type of thing. Those are like cloud-based. You don't see, but this is actually storage or space where all the website actually are connected, and these websites database are actually stored in this type of storage. Now, how this API is coming here? Can somebody tell? Okay, so this is, I'm coming to 2-tier versus 3-tier architecture. Can somebody tell me what is a 2-tier architecture and what is a 3-tier architecture? What architecture is this on this picture?
This is 3-tier architecture.
Why this is a 3-tier architecture actually?
Because there is a browser and database. Middle of the browser and database, there is a web server. Is called cloud-based server. That's why it's 3-tier.
Yeah, this is correct. So this is kind of a middle layer, right? So yeah. If you don't have a middle layer, that will be a 2-tier application. So one of the important thing for web server application, to use this type of application or apps, you need internet connection, right? So internet will be required to access stuff from web-based application. For 2-tier application, you don't need internet. Can somebody give an example of 2-tier application in your mobile phone?
Yes, calculator app.
Yeah, this is a 2-tier application. That's true. Sometimes you know, like health device, like health, you count your steps, right? This thing is also sometimes 2-tier application. To download these apps, you need internet. But once you download, this is a 2-tier system in your mobile phone. When you actually connect with external device, like for example, you are buying Fitbit and now you want to monitor this Fitbit from server level, then that will become a 3-tier application. So basically you see that Fitbit can be just 2-tier application, or it can be 3-tier application also, right? So when you locally just check your heartbeat or check your steps, like how many steps a day you walk, right? That will be acting like a 2-tier application. But when you use your mobile phone and sometimes you check from your laptop or other places that how your progress is going, another thing, that is actually 3-tier application, because now your Fitbit is connected to some server, and this server has some storage where your all the activities is recording, it will be actually recorded, and sometimes you can create a what is that, challenges, like your friends can join those challenges and they can also participate. You see that like there are some different level of architecture, right? So in your mobile apps you will see 2-tier application plus 3-tier application, both depends how it functions. So now going to backend testing again, this is definitely a recap from last class, 3-tier versus 2-tier application. Now today's topic is API testing, right? So what is API testing? Application programming interface. So this is just the shortcut form, and you can just say what is API. So now if I give you real life example, API will be working like a real estate broker. So if you are selling a house, in, for example, Jamaica, Queens, now you have your own real estate broker. You hired a real estate broker to communicate with other people. So now there are thousands of real estate brokers who has their own client. They want to visit this house. How they will be visiting the house actually? Can somebody tell me actually?
The broker sets up like open houses, reaches out to clients, and brings in buyers to show them the house.
Like the listing?
Yeah, so your listing agent, right? Your listing agent will be the main person who will be handling this, all of this scheduling, showing the house, right? So I have some of my real estate, I have some broker who is working with me, another person has their broker working with them. So now if I want to see the house, I will not go to your house directly, right? I have to communicate and make an appointment with your real estate agent or listing agent. So similarly, every website has API layer. Okay, so every website has API layer. So those API layer are working like a website, but they will be communicating with third parties. What is actually that? For example, if I just, so, okay, if I just open priceline.com, priceline.com. So this priceline.com, right? So this is a third party actually, like similar third party. Can somebody give me a few other example of other third parties similar to Priceline?
Expedia?
Expedia, yeah, that's true. Expedia is another one. Hotel.com is another one, right? There is a lot of like hotware.com. There is a lot of even Amazon.com, right? Amazon is a third party actually. You can say third party because Amazon is selling product from all other companies, all other like sellers working with different.
The most common one will be Uber Eats, right?
Yeah, Uber Eats also work like a third party, and they are also working with other clients, right? So now, if you think about Priceline.com, similar like third parties, right? Third party, they don't own actually their own like flights or airline company or hotels. They are just working as a middle person, right? So you will be saying that, okay, I'm looking for some hotel for these 2 days. What is the best deal? They will check 100 different hotels price and give you the list of the options, right? So if I say, okay, I'm going to New York City. So if I go to New York City and now I'm going to these days, for example, Friday, and checking out Sunday, for example, for 2 days. Now, if I want to find hotels, you will see hundreds of lists on the screen. You will see sometimes Hotel Marriott, sometimes Sheraton, sometimes what is that? This is all kind of hotels, right? So none of these hotels actually are owned by Priceline. So Priceline is actually working with them somehow, right? And actually Priceline is working with them means Priceline is, for example, if you go to Hotel Marriott or something, Hilton, for example. So Priceline is actually working with Hilton website, but there, if you think about web layer, they are actually working with Hilton's API layer actually. So remember I said API is kind of your listing agent or real estate broker. So going to hotel, checking to hotel, you cannot, Priceline cannot do that. Priceline will go to that API layer from Hilton and they will say, okay, I have some customer, they want to check in these days. What is the option? They will give this option. If you like it, you will go with them. Otherwise, they went. This Priceline API is working with hundreds or thousands of other APIs. Whatever best option you think, you will get it, right? They will give you list. Now, this is the way API is working. Now, if I go to my notes, actually. Okay. So API is actually solving a lot of problems. How there's, so can somebody tell me, I know many of you all actually don't know anything, but if you can guess how API will be solving problems from website to website communication.
Like security?
Security will be definitely number one. This is number one, security. But how security is will be important here, like how they are working with security. So, okay, so basically, if you can see this picture. So this is your website screen, or you can say this is a third party. This is Priceline.com. Now Priceline is going to Hotel Marriott website or Hilton website or Sheraton, whatever, like hotels. They don't have actually access to go there. They cannot go to their database and check which days are available, this hotel, this location. You see that this picture looks like they're going to backend, but actually every company backend is actually secured. This is locked for outsider. A third party cannot go to their backend and check anything actually. So this backend is connected to their database. This is secured places, right? So they have their own code, they have their logics. So Marriott Hotel will not allow to share their information with Priceline. Instead, they will say, okay, I have another layer here, which is API layer. Talk to this API layer. API layer will communicate with us. Now, you see that this is cross. Can everybody see this screen, or I should make it a little bigger?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is not allowed. Hotel.com, Priceline.com, or any other third party, right? They cannot go to any hotel, or if you want to rent a car, right? Hertz or Nationals, a lot of car companies there, right? You cannot go to their website directly. There is a security issue. Your request will be denied. Now, to solve this problem, there is options. You see that? Now this is the option. Marriott API. You can think about anything else there, right? Maybe Macy's.com, maybe any online based shopping center, right? They have their APIs. You can think about Delta Airlines or Southwest Airlines or anything, United Airlines. So anything online based company, they have their APIs. These APIs will be communicating with their internal system, not with the third party. So third party will have access only to these APIs. And how these APIs communication will be done, actually. There are some requests, and these requests and response protocol. So one request, for example, you are searching something, this request will be going to this Marriott Hotel or any place. Like you said, okay, I want to travel Europe. You are checking British Airways. Now you are sending a request, checking how much options or availability on this specific day range. So this will be a request. Whatever you are searching, you are asking, that will be request. And since this is a 3-tier application, you need internet, right? So this kind of URL based request, right? This is called HTTP protocol. So HTTP request, that will be HTTP request. And now Marriott Hotel or Delta or British Airways, these APIs, their API will say, okay, let me check our database. How much is that? How much the price right now? And how many available, or what days are available? So this option, this API will communicate internally with their database, right? And send the options back to your web application, right? Like for example, your screen, your laptop screen or phone screen, mobile screen or iPad. You have a screen, application layer. This is called your application layer. An application layer will display the information coming from this backend through API layer, right? This is called HTTP response. So one request is going as HTTP request, and the information result is coming back with response, and this is called HTTP response. So this is actually API, and this is the exactly thing that you will be checking as a QA also. So remember last week, you did not use this layer at all. You went directly from here to this database. This was your last week. You have some specific tool, or what is that? What tools we used, for example? Can somebody tell what we used to get data from database?
Select all from
Those are queries, but
SQL?
SQL
DBMS?
workbench, for example, SQL workbench, right?
Yes.
SQL, some kind of IDE where you write your code or where you write your queries, SQL queries. So this is called, like, for example, SQL workbench. Workbench is kind of, you saw IntelliJ IDE where you write Java code, right? Similarly, another IDE called SQL workbench. In workbench, you have connection with database and you write SQL queries, and based on your queries, you see the result from your table and other thing. So from this, that was your two-tier application actually. You just directly getting data from the database. You are directly going inside the database. No middleman or no middle layer requires in this. But this is only for QA purpose, right? Or testing purpose. But real life, you, I, or anybody else, when we search something on website, we don't go directly to the database. We go through the API layer and get everything through API layer. Everything right now you see web-based application or anything, like 99% time you just work with APIs. Every website has API nowadays. Every website has APIs, especially online business related anything. So those APIs are web-based, right? And you have to use some kind of tools. So for our course, we will be using two tools actually. One is Postman. Postman will be for not, like, if you don't want to do automation, right? Like some simple testing, that will be Postman. But if you want to do automation, there is another one. You can use IntelliJ, but IntelliJ, you have to use REST assured library. Right now you are using, for example, WebDriver library or Java library, right? So you'll be using exactly Java library, plus you have to download one of this WebDriver library. And you also will be using Java programming language to do automate these APIs. But we will not be automate right now. We'll be doing, we'll show you API automation maybe after 2 weeks. So today I will be doing everything just manual process from Postman and how it works. A lot of company use Postman actually. A lot of company don't do automation for API testing. So still, Postman is very, very popular tool and very, very simple. So before going to Postman, right? What other information you need? Some other information you need to know. So sometimes you are just getting some data on your screen and just checking those data. Sometimes very similar to SQL, right? You have to update some data. Sometimes sometimes you have to delete data. Sometimes you have to add new data. So all of these, remember we said earlier last week, use 4 simple letter. Can somebody remember what is that?
CRUD.
DB.
Yes, CRUD will be exactly same for SQL and also for API. So what is CRUD mean actually? Can somebody tell me?
Yep,
Create, update, delete. No, sorry.
It's for create, read,
read.
update,
Yeah.
delete.
Okay, yes. Create, read or retrieve. So in SQL, what statement, SQL statement you used for read?
To
insert.
Select. So select was the most usable actually. So in SQL, you like 80% time you'll be using select statement in the future. So yes, similarly here for database, read will be called, the read method will be called get. So it will be get, and create will be called post, and delete will be called delete, and update will be again same thing, update. So similar name, but same, exactly same way they work actually. The concept is concepts will be exactly same. So now, so API actually use a different type of language. This is called JSON. So JSON language is like similar to XML. So they will be, you see that this is an example of JSON language. So JSON language is kind of universal to communication inside the backend, because JSON XML can work with any language. If there is C#, JSON can work with them. If there is Java, they can work with them. If they're Python, they can work with them. So JSON and XML can work with any web-based programming language, right? So any language JSON can work. So that's why for API layer, you will be working with them and using either JSON and XML. So JSON format, right? There is a format. This is, instead of saying the language, they're kind of specific format. So you are giving some value, right? Based on what you're looking for. For example, if you have name, address, name, so you are giving this name equal to this. Instead of equal to, you are just writing some kind of colon, right? So equal to, in SQL, you saw some of them equal to, right? But here you will see some kind of colon. And what is that in SQL? In SQL, what type of information is going there? Like in this double quotation, if I say this is a name, what is this? Is similar to what in SQL table?
Where?
This will be very similar to a column, right? Like some kind of column name. But you don't have to know any of this actually. This is, I'm just asking, just see if you can relate with SQL or not. So for API, you always need some kind of endpoint. So endpoint is another, the simple word is just address. For example, if you live in Queens and somebody want to go my house, if I live in Queens and somebody want to visit me, so is that good enough actually? If I say I live in Queens, they can come to my house?
They need the address, of course.
They need address. And now if I say, okay, I live on Hillside Avenue 168th Street, and between 89 and 88 Avenue, I'm giving a lot of information. Still, this is not good enough to go to my house, right? Even if I give some apartment building, right, number, still not good enough. You have to give a specific floor, right, number of the unit, like 6F, 6G, or anything. Is that these type of information you need to work with API. So API, so you see that endpoint address where API is hosted on the server. So now, so there are endpoint. So in this API, if you just give the high level address without any specific details, you will not get the right answer actually. So for example, if this is Amazon, if you are searching for mobile phone, they will show you thousands of mobile phone, but maybe you are looking for Apple iPhone 10, right? So you have to give Apple iPhone 10, then it can go to the specific database where Apple iPhone 10s are here, and then they can show you in your screen through web server actually. So this is called endpoint, and that is where your API actually server actually work with. So your front end will be your client, right? And backend will be server. So this is your server. So HTTP method, which are commonly used for communication with APIs. Remember I said here, this will be HTTP method or HTTP protocol. Same thing, right? HTTP method, HTTP protocol, or HTTP request. Same thing, depending on how you actually explain to other people. But they are exactly same thing. As I said, there are a lot of method, but as a QA, you will be working with mostly 99.9% time these four. There are a lot of API method actually, at least maybe 15, 16 API method, but these four method will be mostly popular and part of your testing actually. If you are a API tester, if you do API testing as part of your project, you will be actually using these four: get, post, put, delete. So now, what is actually put? Put will be actually kind of update. Get will be retrieve data like create, not create, read, right? Post will be if you want to add anything new, create. This is kind of create. Put will be similar to edit or update. Delete will be exactly same name as you saw in SQL, right? So I explained a little bit more also here, little bit shortcut. Get method will be used to get the information from the server, basically. Using query parameter, and you will see this query parameter later. Post, right? Send the data to server. For example, when you go to a bank, right? Your banker will get all of your information and they will send those information to backend table. And those information will be saved to backend database table through post. And this is also, you need some kind of body or payload. You will see this when I show you actually Postman. So post will be kind of similar to create data in backend, and put, you are basically updating or replacing any data, anything you want to update. Remember I said, okay, you are moving from New York to Texas tomorrow. You are calling to your bank, I want to change my address. They will use put method. And delete, you say, okay, I am moving, so I don't have any TD bank in Texas. So I want to cancel, or I want to actually delete my account. So they will use delete. So this is some four basic method, API method that you will be using, or you will be actually practicing during your QA task. Now, so there are some steps you need. This is just a high level. I will show you a little later. So all of this, you can see one of this common one, URI, right? URI. So URI can be interview question, like what is a URI actually? universal resource identifier. So universal resource identifier means there will be some kind of resource identifier here. You need API address, right? This address will be URI actually. So for Marriott Hotel, they should have their specific address. Hilton Hotel, they should have their own address. Delta Airlines, they have their own address. Each of them has their own address. And those address will be identifier that you will be using during your API testing. Proper method you need. So in this request, your method will be post. In this request, so 1 and 2 is very easy. Only thing you have to work on these, the details you are adding inside the request, right? When you request something, you need some information. Sometimes, okay, so you have to give maybe your password. When you log in to your online banking, you are giving your password, you are giving your user ID, right? Sometimes they will ask you provide PIN number. Sometimes if you have extra layer of protection, every time you log in, chase.com, they will send you some PIN number, random 6-digit PIN number to your phone, right? And you have to give this PIN number to log in. So this type of information is going inside the payload. So every request, all these 4 requests, right? Number 1, you need API address. Number 2, you need proper method. So for post, you will be selecting post method. To get, you are selecting get method. Basically, put, you are selecting put, delete, you are selecting delete method. And that information will be a little bit different based on your request. And most of the time, 80% information in step 3 will be provided by your development team. 80% time. Your development team will be providing this parameter, query parameter, because they are building this API. You are not building this API. Most of the time, you don't know actually what is that parameter. Your development team will provide. If you don't have, you have to ask. When you are working with API testing, you have to ask from your development team, okay, can you share with us this information, whatever information you need. But I will go there later, little later. I will tell you exactly what information you are asking from your development team. So far, anybody has any question? These are like very, very basic, fundamental, actually. Okay. So, as I said, all of these 4 methods will be very, very important, and you will be actually using this if you are doing API testing as part of your project. Actually, like if you go some project, you may not be doing this API testing at all. Actually, you are maybe just doing SQL, just database validation. So it is not all company actually do API testing.
Okay, but I have a question.
They don't. Yeah, you have a question?
Okay, yeah. Is there any contract between the third party or the company to use their API or database?
Yeah, so there are not contract like this. For example, you are Googling a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So Google is working with APIs. So most of the company, like for example, you are for example, if I am Delta Airlines, right?
Yeah.
I have my API. I should not charge third parties for my APIs actually, for business purpose, because you are getting business from them actually. There are definitely
yes. Then why Delta or Marriott to get the information from them? Why? But it's because it's secured. right?
No, their website is secured, but
Yeah.
they are creating a API to work with all the third parties. No
So
third party can go inside their backend.
okay, when they use API, though, so they don't need any contract.
No, they don't need any
So
contract.
everybody can see their API or can go their API to collect the
Yes, so
information, right?
third parties has protocol actually how to go and collect their data. For example, you are collecting data. So if you are using, like, for example, weather.com, you can see what is the temperature in city in Mumbai or in London right now, but you are not living there, right? So your apps actually working with some APIs that is working in London and Mumbai or Dhaka or whatever country, right? So they're collecting their information. How they're collecting the information? They're working with
Okay.
APIs.
Okay, then when
Web portal is working like
when we use direct Marriott website or Delta website, so when I enter the website or Delta or Marriott,
yes.
so my computer is using API, the same API.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
all the companies using APIs for even their own company application layer also. Used to be only for third party. Now even you are logging inside the delta.com. They are using their APIs also sometimes. And there is another important interview question also sometimes. Since you asked, actually, I probably skipped that one. I'm going there. You see that here? This picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this picture, now this is application layer. This is the front end where customer actually come and customer check stuff. So now their backend is Java-based backend. After 2 years, now nobody is using Java. People are using Python. Python is more popular and really popular. Everybody start using Python. So now Marriott decided we actually don't want to actually use Java. We just change everything to Python here. What's gonna happen? Your connection will fail actually. Your front end, every company there is two layers actually. Front end and back end is two different layers, two different technology. They're using different programming languages. Even though they're working together all the time, but from development point of view, they always have a connection. Front end always work with back end, and they always have request response every millisecond, second, right? So now the front end, they don't want to change anything. They said, okay, we want to change the backend. And they figured out if we do change Java from Java to Python, now our front end will not work with Python. What is the solution here? So even inside your company, you will create an API here just to solve the problem actually. Because API will work with any programming language because API is working with JSON and XML. And JSON XML can work with any programming language. So if you actually create a API layer here, so you just, the company development team just need to create an API layer. That's it. It's kind of another URL. So instead of that directly going here, your front end screen will be communicating with the API. Even though this front end is actually from Marriott or maybe Delta, this can be happen opposite direction also, right? So now you have a Java-based application. There was JavaScript before. Now every day the things are changing, right? New languages are coming. So now your screen is very old actually. This is all like something built like 15 years ago. Now everything is technology change and everything is newer. So you decided, okay, your company decided we have to rebuild our front end to attract customers, to increase customers' satisfaction, right? And more visibility, redesign your front end. So if you redesign your front end, you are introducing new new programming language. For example, you used to have simple JavaScript, now you have Angular framework or some other different framework or different programming language for front end. Same thing will be happening, right? Maybe this Angular framework is not working with Java. Now you need API layer here. So this is actually your question. That was a good question actually you asked. Do we actually use API when we directly go to some company? Yes, nowadays, most of the company have their own API even for their customers, not only for third party, for their customer also.
Okay, now I got it. Thank you.
Any other question from anybody else? So this type of question can be asked during your interview. How you can solve this? You're just gonna say, explain how API will be working. That's it. Okay. Okay, so this is another interview question actually. During your API testing, what type of like what you actually validate sometimes? These are some of the sample code you actually validate. Remember, you see that sometimes you search some website and you see 400 error or something, 404 error or something.
Yeah, the last one, 404.
Yeah, sometimes if your internet connection is broken, or sometimes like API is not working, you cannot reach the website. Sometimes their website or URL is not correct, or URL is broken. Sometimes you will be seeing this 404, right? Data not found. So similarly, there are some other code also that you will be actually validating as part of your assertion. Remember assertion, you are making sure, okay, if this number comes, so this, like, assertion is basically you are making sure, okay, it is working or not, or if what is expected or not, just checking expected result. So 200 will be one of the most common one. So if you see status code equal to 200, that means your request was successful, right? So basically this is a successful request. This is one of the common one for API testing. 201, if you want to create a data, it can be like there is 201, but sometimes it will be 200 depending on your tools, depending on your company actually expectation. Some tools, both creation and request is same 200, but you will know that if this is expected or not, depending on each company, each tool. Sometimes if you have empty response, you will see 204, right? If something is bad request, so 400 means something is problem with the server, your web connection server, right? Something is not working, this URL is not working or something, right? These are all of these something. And sometimes if you need additional authentication, means you need access, like online based financial access or account, you see that unauthorized access or forbidden access or denied, sometimes depending on your application, what you are testing, you can see 401 or 403. So these like 6 or 7 status code will be important and you will be testing as part of your API testing. And sometimes you will see in your interview, they're asking what type of status code you check during your Postman validation or API testing. Now, so resources, right? Resources is basically your API address. You can say this is your API address. Google.com Maps, this is API actually from Google, for example. Google.com Search, this is the API from Google.com. Google.com Images, this is the API. So in this API, all the images are saved in Google. In this search, all the information are saved, for example. In these maps, all of the maps, right? You see your address, you sometimes use GPS, right? All of these GPS information are saved. Like these are some of these APIs. And who will be sharing this stuff with you? Your developer, actually. Your development team will be sharing this server address, right? This is your server. This actually exactly same as this one. This one, actually. This is the address. This is your resource address. The middle layer, the API layer. Oh, actually, I'm going too far. So your, what is that? Amazon.com will be communicating with this layer, and Priceline will be communicating with some of this type of website. This is like URL based, right? .com. Now parameter, right? So what you actually use as a parameter. So remember, parameters will be exactly similar to where condition. In SQL, you saw some kind of where condition, right? Find all the countries or all the people where city is London, right? Similarly, you are giving information here. You are giving all the parameters. So parameter will be kind of part of your address. So if you say, okay, I live in this street, this building, so you are giving parameter like building number, right? Your unit number. All of this information will be part of your path, right? Path parameter or condition. That's why I said SQL and API, the concepts are very, very similar actually. So in SQL, you are using SQL language, and here you are using just JSON format. Inside the JSON format, you are giving those information. Query parameter also, you see that in SQL, you give some name, right? For example, address, phone number, right? These are kind of query parameters. This is one of the example of API request for Amazon.com. You see that when you go to Amazon.com, you don't have to even go to third party now. You see that inside the Amazon.com, they're using API. You are searching your order details. You can say, okay, sometimes you can give this date and other thing, right? You are giving the range of date. Sometimes you going to your bank, you want to see statement from month of January. Right now is month of March, right? So you want to go to month of January. So that means you are changing the parameter. You are changing the parameter. You are actually changing the parameter like this. So you are giving month is between January 1st to January 31st, something like that. So they're working with APIs all the time. But this is, you don't have to always think this way. So, but when it comes to API testing, now you have to think how it works. Header and cookies. That is another one that I said sometimes for your login, right? Login your bank website. You need to give specific parameter. For example, I said like security code, right? Come to your phone, right? They give sometimes 6-digit security code, and you have to give sometimes these with your header. Sometimes you have to give your specific cookies. Cookies is kind of ID actually. This is security ID inside the website. Cookies are security ID. So endpoint, right? Endpoint, request, URL. So this is one of the example how it works and how you can actually, this is your page URL. Remember I showed you earlier. These are your page URL. This API, every API has their base URL. Like Marriott has their base URL. Delta has their base URL like this. And then slash, and then additional address. And this address or resources will be coming from your development team. And parameters. So these you will sometimes, you will be knowing that because this is sometimes your test data. Parameter will be sometimes your test data, like what type of data you are using for your testing. But this is kind of a format. So URL versus URI, this is just a common concept. URL will be uniform resource locator. Every website has their URL. It's kind of address for a URL for the website. URI is the identifier. This is kind of address. This is also address. Both is actually address. One is, this is a API address. And this is in general for the website address. Sometimes you need your URL to create URI. This is just like some picture form of your name, right? URI is like API address. When you search something, your request search is your URI, right? And URL is your bigger address. So big part when you think about, okay, I live in Queens, Jamaica, in 168th Street. 168 is a little bit more close to URI. So URL will be your address and high level, right? And this is more specific, that what exactly which building number and apartment number you live. This is more like your mailing address. So now, as I said, we will be using Postman as a API tool, right? One of the API tools, this is mostly used for manual testing, because in Postman, you are not doing so much automation. It will be very, very straightforward. For automation, we'll be using similar concept, but with Java programming language. Even in IntelliJ or Eclipse, doesn't matter what you use, that will be REST assured library. So this is some information. This is for your just knowledge transfer type of thing. You can read. In interview, they will not ask you what is Postman, not like this. So they can ask how you use Postman for your testing purpose, or what type of information you need to test Postman, or like what function you use, what API method you use for during with the Postman. Like this type of question can be asked. So this information, just Postman is a tool, software testing API tool to test APIs. This is like high level concept. This is just for your knowledge. Why use Postman? There is an option for automation testing with Postman, but no company actually use Postman for automation. For automation, they use different tool or different setup. So you can actually go to this one of the sample website. There's hundreds of thousands of websites you can actually learn Postman, but this is one of them I just gave because I copied this information from there. So now Postman, I will go to Postman now. Before going to Postman, anybody has any concept related question for API?
So Postman is only for manual testing, right, Bhai?
Yes, the Postman will be used for your manual testing purpose. Hundreds of companies use Postman to do manual testing. Even my company also use Postman where I work. So Postman, this is a very simple tool. But as I said, you just need to know specific JSON format to send request and then update, delete, post, right? But I will show you actually a little bit later. But before going to Postman, I'm going to Udemy actually. I think nobody has access to Udemy, right? For our current batch.
No.
Anybody got Udemy access yet?
You sent a link
Yes,
in
I
the
got it.
last, but I never tried it.
Okay, because okay. So I will ask Mohsin Bhai to share Udemy user ID and password with everybody, so that because in Udemy we have already like 80 plus courses, and from those courses you can practice most of the stuff actually. For example, this is our Udemy account, right? So if you go to My Learning, you see that My Learning? If you go to My Learning, you will see all the courses we already have. Is already paid. You don't have to buy or any. You don't have to buy anything. You see that all of this course, if you want to start learning Selenium, start this. This Selenium is like 40 hours course from very beginning. They cover also Java. You see that API testing that I am actually following today. Rahul Shetty's API testing. This is Postman plus Rest Assured. Like for example, if somebody want to learn database testing, here. If somebody want to learn mobile testing, is here. You see that? These all of them are paid. You see that almost like 90 courses already registered here. So you will have all of our students will get the access to this My Learning inside the Udemy. So you can just play around and see what courses you like, but don't start 3, 4, 5 courses at the same time. Start only maybe 2 courses. If you start like 5 courses, I'm sure like you cannot even finish like half of the course, any of this actually. All of these courses are like from 15 hours to 40 hours, 50 hours, a lot of details. So start 2 courses max at the same time, not more than 2 courses. So I'm going to API testing here. Okay. It's a little slow, but I will go to, okay. Okay, so this is the API testing. This is already purchased, right? So you don't have to do anything, just go to course, start the course. So you see that this is almost like 24 hours course, right? But to get ready for the interview, you don't have to complete entire 24 hours. If you do just half, you will be good enough. This person actually went with so much details, basically basic, beginner to advanced. So it's up to you. If you have so much time, you can always complete entire course. but at certain point you will be good with the interviews. Now you see that for interview, I would always suggest first 5 section, or maybe 6 you can do, right? You see that these 5 or 6 section, they are not too long, 54 minutes, 36 minutes, 34, maybe like 3 hours long, right? But you need to do practice. So this part will be Postman and this part will be rest assured. So this is like self-paced learning, right? You can start, every section has multiple subsection also. Like this is total 54 minutes, but each of this section, like some like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 11 minutes, depends, right? So you have to just go slowly. You will sometimes see a lot of repetition from his lecture. Like for example, what is that? These pictures. This picture, I got this from his lecture, just to show you the relationship. But in online, there are thousands of pictures like this. But this is not the important part. Important part is you are actually watching those videos and at the same time try to understand and do some practice. Do some practice. You for this is simple, but you need some practice. At least some practice will be good enough. Definitely, you will be doing a lot of other practice with automation testing like Selenium, WebDriver. So for Postman, you need little bit practice is good. So as I said, you all will have access and just try to complete first 6 section. If you do first 6 section, this is good enough for your interview. Now going back to the lecture. Okay. So this is Udemy. You will have access tonight, actually. Now I'm going to Postman. So all you have to do, so all you have to do, just you have to write download Postman. You see that download Postman? Download Postman for free. This is a free tool, right? If you click there, you will see this type of screen. There, like this laptop is a Mac laptop, so I have to click there. So you always have to accept the cookies, and then Mac. If I already downloaded this one, is there, you see that? So once you download this, you see in the download section, you see that Postman 2, this was downloaded. You will see something like that. When you double click that, you will see this type of application. So this is a Postman app. So there are 2 types. Most of you already have access to Slack, right? So Slack has both website app plus, right, website version and also standalone app also, right? Postman also similarly, they have website plus like application version. So you will just download the application version and start using. All you need a valid email ID. If you have a valid email ID, you can just start using this Postman. So this is a Postman. Okay, so this is a Postman, right? Tool. You see that? So this is a Postman tool. I just don't need this. And after you download Postman, right? So you will have a similar screen like that. for this screen, all you have to do, you have to work with collection for now for simple API testing. And in this collection, you will be adding all the test cases here. You see that plus symbol? If you, so what is a collection actually? So collection is a folder. Remember in Java, you created a package, right? You created a project name. So project, you can say this is a big in project level, it is a collection. And inside the collection, you can create more folder like package. So this is basically a folder structure. If you create a new collection, for example, I'm creating a new collection. So this came here as a new collection, right? But I want to change this name, right? New collection, I don't want to see new collection. I probably will write something spring, not spring 2022, for example. So you see that 3 dot here. If you click 3 dot, right? Now you have a lot of options. You see that rename, you can create other, right? Folder, subfolder, a lot of things. What I'm doing here, I'm doing this option, right? I'm just doing rename. If I rename it, so I can do spring 2022. So this is my, for example, project name, similar to Java. In Java, you create a project and give some name, right? So this is my new project name. Now inside this new project, right? You want to create more folders. For example, today is day 1. I'm sure today if nothing will be completed, right? So maybe I will start get or something create, and I will continue day 2. So what I'm gonna do, I will create a new folder. New folder, right? You see that add a folder, creating, add a folder. So for example, if you can keep new folder, or you can give a reasonable, nice name, right? Just rename. I can say day 1. Day 1. So day 1 is my folder. So now you can give anything else depending on what project you are working with, right? What is your project name? If you are working with some other company, and specific name should be, you will see your company structure, your company standard, right? Every company has their own naming standard. So follow your company naming standard. So this is like how you actually create. Postman, this will be open. You can just go to collection, create a new collection, and create a folder, right? Inside the folder, now I can create. So now you have a folder, right? So now inside the folder, you can create a request. You see that request? This request means, remember I showed you CRUD? This is actually part of CRUD, right? If you just select this, your get, post, put, delete will be part of this request. So now I will click add a request. So add a request means one of the test case. Like in Selenium, you are, what is that? Getting the auto insurance code, right? Similar, this auto insurance, getting auto insurance code is one of your test case. And now here in API, test case will be request, each request. For example, add request. By default, it will be always start with get, right? But you can change its name. So now I can change the name. So I want to follow end-to-end testing process, right? What is end-to-end testing? So if you want to check some website functionality, you have to start from the beginning, right? You go to bank, right? You have to first create your account, right? So you have to create is the first step for end-to-end. So you create account, then you have to make sure if account is created correctly or not, and you can access the account or not, right? After create, you can get, right? And see if the account was created and your online website is working correctly with your account, user ID, password. Then next, you want to do some kind of update and check, right? That will be first post, then put, right? And then delete, and then get again. So you can check get every time. Get will be just validation to see if data is displaying correctly in the backend, or savings or storing correctly in the backend. So now I want to change the name. If I just rename it, my first create method, for example. So my first create method. This is your first create method. So remember, for create, right? What method I supposed to use in API? Can somebody tell? For create, what is similar to create?
Select.
No, select is read.
It's post.
Post, yes. So now you see that there is a drop down. There is a drop down. You see that it is showing get, right? But you see that, remember I said you like there are like close to 12, 15 methods to do API testing, but most of them will not be used. You will probably never use those actually. But get, post, put, delete, patch, like get, post, put, delete, these four you will be actually using a lot. Now, if I want to create something, I have to use post option, right? So this is your two things, right? Two steps you already did. What two step? Just see. Where is my, oh, okay, here. Okay, now all of these method, you need three different steps, right? You just have this method name, but you don't have URI, right? And you don't have body. So these two is missing. These two, they are missing, right? To do your testing. And I remember I said your development team is supposed to provide most of this document, actually, 1 and 3, like 90% document or 80% document. This testing document is coming from your development team. So if, for example, I am testing Google Map, so remember I said I am just following him. So, okay. You see that notes download? I already downloaded this. So if you click it, it will be just downloaded. So this one is the note. Actually, okay, I'm going actually. Okay, I downloaded it. Let me check. Docs, this one. This is Rahul Shetty's. I opened twice. Okay, so everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So your development team will be providing very similar document to you. So your development team will say, okay, this is your API layer. So this is your API address. And including this and this is your actually URI. Remember I said URI, the location where you are just testing everything. So this is your location. And those are some parameters, some key. Sometimes I will say, okay, this is my password. Sometimes I will say, this is my user ID. Sometimes I say, this is my cookie ID. So all of this information actually, so cookie ID, sometimes you have to get from your laptop or your testing environment. But other information, right? Like URL, address, right? And JSON body. You see that this is a JSON body. This will be coming from your development team. You are not building this, your developer is building this. All you have to do, you see this information, right? Like your name, your address, this you have to change those. This is your data, right? This part will be already provided. You see that? So this is a body, sample body. The sample body is a JSON format. This is a JSON format. All you have to do, you have to just give right information inside the body. So this is from Rahul Shetty's actually Udemy course. So he is using this. You see that rahulshetty.com and maps. So now, right now I'm doing post, right? Google Map post. So what you have to do for post? This is your base URL. So now I'm copying the base URL. If I copy and going to my Postman, you see that here is the base URL. And now you have another part of this URL, resources. I have to give this also. So this is your API address where you are saving a new address. Actually, I am now saving a new address. Copy. So I'm going back to, so this information you are getting from your development team, as I said. So if you don't have, for example, you just joined to some company, so you have to ask from your development team if you have to actually do some API testing. So this is my API URL address, URI. This is called URI. So now, what are some other things you need to do post? You need query parameters. So this is your kind of key or security key, something like that, right? You need to provide this. You can say, okay, you are going to some house, but to go inside the house, you need a key, right? So this is kind of a key. So this is your key to go inside this API layer. So if I go to key equal to, I'm copying this and now going to, so you see that key. So I'm writing key here and I'm writing value here, right? So I did not give key, right? So, okay. I can type or I can just copy and paste. So parameter part is done here, right? So what else I have to do? I have to go to this header section. You see that there is a header section. And inside this header section, what I have to do? Let me see. Header section, you don't have to do anything, but you have to go to body. You see that it says you have to go to body. And inside the body, right? What option you have to select? There is another one actually. There should be another option. Let me check.
I think you should write here JSON language or something.
Yes, yes. It is not showing there, right? I have to
Yes.
write JSON. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I have the wrong document actually. Okay, so I can actually I can copy from another one that I did earlier. Okay, here, this one. Okay, I can copy from there. So these everything, okay. You see that body header, okay. Okay. Yeah, you see that this option is not visible there because I did not copy the JSON inside the header. So inside the header, let me check. This one actually. You see that content type, copy. So there is no content type here. You see that? So I have to just content type, and you see that application JSON. This one actually I should have written here actually. This one also should be written here. I had somewhere, but I don't know. Okay. This one I have to update. Anyway. So content type here will be just. So we are actually communicating with this JSON format. Now, if you go to body, something is wrong here. The JSON should be coming here. I cannot select JSON here. You see that the option?
Yes.
I think I have to uninstall this one, and I think this is a problem with maybe version. This is an old version, and currently it is working with new version. Okay, anyway, so probably I can just show you this one, that the previous one I did. Okay. Okay. So if I add this part, right, in the body, you're supposed to see this option actually. You see that right now I have everything except this part. I can do this one also. Okay. So, okay, so this one is exactly same as this sample body. The sample body you are getting from your development team. Okay, so all you have to do, so you are creating a new address, your house address inside the Google Map. So in the Google Map database, you are saying, okay, I want to create a new address so that I can use this in the future for my business or anything else. So now this is a sample, right? So all of this information, all of these type, right? Attribute, these are called attribute actually. All of these attributes are maybe important for this API. So your development team created this body and your development team said, okay, you can change any of these inside the database. So what you're gonna do now? So now you just copy it and you see that exactly same thing I just pasted here. So it will be saved inside the google.com map. So if I change some name, if I change something else, right? I'm saying dedicated tech academy instead of Rahul Shetty's. You can give any phone number also. Just 111, 111, and 111, for example, anything you can give. So you can change the address also, anything. You can give anything, right? I'm giving, for example, 1234 Hillside, okay, Astoria Boulevard, for example, or Queens Boulevard. So for example, this is your address. Now, I want to save this to database through API. So this is your post API, right? And all of your parameter is there. And instead of I'm just giving there the URL, the right URL. Okay. So the setup is ready. You see that for API testing, the main thing is you have to just give the information in the right template. This is a template, JSON format template. So whatever information you want to just add, your address, this is your test data. So now if I send this now, if this is success, remember what code I supposed to see here? If the request is success.
200.
So 200 I supposed to see. And another thing I supposed to see that how long it takes. This is kind of a performance testing that, okay, you are expecting that, okay, your data will be saved in 2 seconds. The performance should be 2 seconds. It should not be like, it should not take like more than 5 seconds or 10 seconds. It should be faster, right? This is a functional testing. Your server should be faster. So you are checking multiple things. First thing that you are actually getting, you are giving the information here, setup done, and you are getting 200. And also, what is the performance? Let's see. If I give a send here, send means run the test. You are just running this. So this is your response. That is your request. You see that this is your request. In API, there is two things, right? You see that this is your request, and now you supposed to get some response. Now your development team already gave you response template also. Your development team said, okay, your response should be like this. Your response should be something like that, but this number will be changed, right? Every time you add a new place ID should be different, right? Your place ID should be different. This is definitely different place ID. Different place has different ID. Other than that, this format should be changed, like same, right? Status should be okay. Place ID should have some value. Scope should have some value. Reference should have some kind of number, right? ID should have some kind of number. This number will be changed every time you send a new request, but the format, you have to check the format is correct or not. Now, once you do see this, now you have to go to database and check if place ID is created correctly and matches with that or not, right? And also you have to go and check database that, okay, whatever information you gave here, they also saved in database or not. You see that you are requesting through API, and also at the same time, you are doing SQL validation also. Now you can go to database and just check through SQL, okay, name these dedicated tech academy, what is the address? Okay, so now going back, actually. And now you can go there, right? I just did some kind of request through API, right? This API worked with backend and saved something in this database. So you have two different ways to check this. One option. So can somebody tell me what are the two possible way you can just check if this database saved this information correctly or not? You have two options here to check this database.
SQL or Postman?
Yes, SQL or Postman. If you use SQL Workbench, you can directly go to this database and you select statement, right? Or you can check with get method. Remember get is similar to read, like select statement. You can send a get request and get the same information on the screen. So this is web-based validation, API validation, and this is just simple database validation through SQL. You understood these two approach? Anybody
Yes.
did not understand? We will be doing this as a QA all the time, actually. Now, I want to see if this information actually saved inside the database or not. How can I actually check this? So if I go to Postman, so I saw 200, that means this is actually past our expectation, right? Our test case kind of passed, but we don't know actually this test case pass or not. How can we actually check our test case passed or not? You see that there, test result section. So in the test result section, you can also see verify, status code is 200. So you actually added a test case. So in the next class, actually, today is a little bit late. So next class, I will show you how to add a test case for this request. Every request have multiple test case. There is only one test case, but you can also actually add a test case that you can see, okay, if address is this or not in the backend, if your expected time, this is, what is that? This is less than 1 second, right? 1000 millisecond equal to 1 second. That means this is a good performance, right? So anything less than 2 seconds or 1 second is faster, right? 861 millisecond. For example, your expectation is 1000 millisecond. That means your test case passed. If your expectation is 500 millisecond, this test case should be failed, depending on what is your expectation. What is your requirement, right? Expectation is coming from the requirement. This information I will show you with more details next class, but let me check if my Postman is working or not. So if I want to see if backend actually has my data, right, or not correctly, or saved correctly or not, what I have to check? I have to check get method, right? And for get method, I can use this place ID as my where condition. Remember, we had a where condition. So
Yes.
I'm trying to see if dedicated tag item and whatever information I gave is saved in database correctly or not. So what my next method will be get method. Let me create a new method here. Add a request. Okay. New request, get method. Okay. Now for previous one, post, I can just directly copy this one because this is the key. You actually, okay. Or I have, let me go to get method URL. Post get. Yeah, there is get. You see that? So for get method, I can just copy this. But what is missing here? Can somebody tell what is important information missing here? You see that place ID, right? I have to replace place ID with correct place ID. Our place ID was, this is the one, right? The latest updated place ID. So I have to update my place ID. First, let's see if it works or not. Going there, copy. And now going to, which one is my new get? Oh, this one. And this one is not right. So I have to check my ID here. Copy. So you see that place ID? So one important thing for get method, you don't have to give anything in the body. You don't need anything in the body. For put, delete, and post, you need to give the body. But for get, you don't need any body. So now, let me see what else you need. Okay. So I gave base URL, I gave resources, I gave place ID and everything. And my request is get, right? So there is no body. You see that? There is no body. All you see in the information, what is your request? all the information should be displaying in JSON format. So get method is kind of select, and this is very straightforward. All you have to give, just select something unique like place ID, social security. Remember, is like some primary key or foreign key. This is very similar. So here, your place ID is very unique. So you have to search with place ID from the database. Let me send now.
So the place ID is also provided by the developer.
No. Place ID is always.
Okay. I got it.
You are creating your new place, right? So
Yeah, we got
some kind of ID. Your developer is not giving everything, like this is random. Every time you are creating new place, it's a new ID.
Yeah, I got it. I was confused a little bit. So this place ID we are going to use it in the get method.
Yes, you are just, because you just added this place to the database. Now you are checking if this place actually added correctly or not. So you are using select statement through API. In SQL, this is select statement, but in API, this is get.
So we can use any one, or how would we?
No, it depends what your company use actually.
Oh, okay.
The company may say, okay, you have to do both. You have to use SQL query to check database, and also you have to check API to make sure if server level architecture is working. There is a two different architecture. Remember, your API, you are checking 3-tier architecture. But if you just use SQL, this is not 3-tier anymore. This is just like 2-tier. You're just checking the database only.
Okay.
So this is actually 200, right? My result came back from get, and I can see the name is correct, phone number is correct, address is correct. This is all of this information actually I provided in the database came back with correct answer. You see that, right?
Yes, sir.
So that was actually get and post. So basically we posted some information to database to make sure if they are saving correctly or not. And now this database is giving you response back. This is a response. This is your response like this. Okay. Where is the picture? Is here. Okay. So first post, HTTP request, go to database, save some information, dedicated data academy and address, phone number, information saved. Now you want to see if this is saved correctly. Now you are giving another request as get, and get is coming back with HTTP response. So post request also had a response, and that response provided you successfully added, something like that. Now you want to check if database has the correct information. Now you are using get. So I think I will stop here today because I have 2 more, put and delete. I will cover actually next class.
So Shantu bhai, the homework from the last class is due tomorrow. Can we get an extra day, please?
Tomorrow is Thursday, right? You can give end of Friday actually.
Yeah, it's too huge.
Yeah, you can give end of Friday. I know there is a lot of information. You can just Google them, just copy paste. I just want to make sure that you understand those terms, because you can be asked during the interview those stuff.
Okay. And also one more thing, like how far are we in the syllabus? Like how much we have completed so far?
If you asked so far how much you completed, it can be like 30%.
Oh, that's
or
it.
30 to 40%. It depends. If you are really good at automation, whatever Joel Bhai showed you, if you are very, very comfortable and you can do your own, with some website and other thing, you can say you are 40%. Otherwise, it depends on your performance. I don't know where you are actually.
I'm at 0%, I will say, because I have missed the classes and I'm just trying to do the first class. I'm covering that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
automation is a big portion because like I think Jewelby did like more than 2 weeks of automation.
Yes, and I have missed most. I just did one first class and the rest I was not able to do it.
But automation will be kind of repeating. There will be more repeat in the future.
Yeah, Jewelby already completed the Selenium and TestNG. Now he will maybe cover Cucumber, the last topic of Cucumber.
Yeah, that's true. But it's actually not complete. There will be a lot of practice. There will be more practice. It's a very high level he just covered. It's not like a lot of details. For example, few of you have like drop down issues and a lot of other.
Yeah, I'm just telling this.
So
Yeah, drop down issue is very important.
Yeah, so you will see a lot of classes with more details like this actually. But it depends on where you are. You can say 30 to 40%. I'm not sure where you are in your homework and other thing.
But how about the class? I think class maybe 80% is done.
No, not how much? 80%? No.
80%?
No.
Because the SQL Postman is already done. So
Postman, you have a lot of things left still. You have still put and delete. Also, you have rest assured.
Yeah.
That is a Postman automation, means API automation.
Okay.
So it's not 80%. 80% is big number. You cannot say 80% actually. It's not even 2 months actually. Yeah.
That's true.
It's not that fast actually. But if you are on track of each week, you are doing perfect. Like you can say after 3 months, many of you already will be ready for the market for job.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's true.
If you are really good actually.
Yeah, the thing is that let's say we are starting a new chapter today. I mean, let's say API. So we keep forgetting the previous one because we have to practice every day almost, and we don't have that much time.
I agree with you.
You know, Shantapa, the problem is, I mean, for me, I am doing this, but if you ask me prior what I did, I don't remember anything, honestly speaking.
Okay, it's not a big